You ever have somebody look you dead in the eye, stand on your land, and say, "This is my spot now, there's nothing you can do about it, Tommy, I double dog dare you"? Yeah, that actually came out of a grown woman's mouth on camera while she was trespassing on my property in a brand new white SUV. And instead of backing down like she expected, I took her up on it, politely, legally, and in the pettiest, most satisfying way possible. Let me back up a sec so this doesn't sound completely insane. I'm a land surveyor by trade, which means property lines and legal boundaries are kind of my religion. It's not just my job, it's how my brain is wired. My wife jokes I can walk into a room and tell you the square footage just by squinting at the corners. She's not wrong. For years ago we bought this house right by a popular hiking trail and community park. Perfect for us, we love being outside. The place was a weird bargain because of an odd little quirk on the plat map. Our driveway is long, like 150 feet from the street to the garage, and at the end of it there's this paved turnaround area. From the street, it looks like some kind of public pull-off for the park. Except it isn't. When we were buying, I pulled the full survey, checked the deed, went over every line like it was an exam. That turnaround is 100% on my private property. The last owners paved it so delivery trucks and guests didn't have to back all the way out. The lot just stretches farther toward the park than it looks like it should. I knew that could be a problem, so right after we moved in I put up a small no parking sign and a discreet private property marker. Nothing crazy, not a barbed wire vibe, just hey, this is mine, please don't. First couple years were fine. Weekend hikers would sometimes pull in, I'd walk out, knock on the window, explain nicely, "Hey, I know it looks like public parking, but it's actually my driveway turnaround," and 99% of people would go, "Oh man, sorry," and move. No yelling, no drama, humans being normal. And then she showed up. Late 50s, nice workout clothes, brand new white SUV, resting smug face, you know the type. First time I see her, she parks in my turnaround, pops the hatch to grab her walking stuff. I walk over, friendly smile, hands visible, good neighbor mode. "Hey there. Just so you know, this area is actually private property, our driveway. The park lot is just around the corner." She gives me this little smirk. Not outright rude, just that condescending, "Oh honey, look." "Oh, I think you're mistaken," she says, like she's correcting a toddler. "I've been walking here for years. I'm the HOA president. I'm very familiar with the local property situation. This is community use space." Now I know she's full of it. I've got the survey, the deed. I know exactly where every inch of my land begins and ends. But she says it with that corporate confidence, like she's used to people folding when she drops her title. I tell her calmly that I'm 100% sure it's private, point to the sign, mention the survey. She literally chuckles. "Signs don't always tell the whole story," she says. "Community spirit should override petty boundary disputes. I'm actually doing you a favor by keeping the asphalt warm, and used pavement is wasted pavement." I just stood there like, did this woman really just claim she's doing me a favor by stealing my parking spot? By the time my brain caught up, she was already power walking toward the trail. Over the next few weeks, she kept parking there 2-3 times a week. Every time, same fake polite routine. "We can work something out. You're new, you don't really understand how things work here. All that passive-aggressive sugarcoating. Calm voice, zero respect." That's when the surveyor in me woke up. I went down to City Hall, got a certified copy of my survey, checked for easements, nothing. I bought bigger, more official-looking private property / no parking signs and installed a security camera aimed at the turnaround. Every time she parked, I took photos, logged dates and times. If she wanted to make this a legal pissing contest, I was going to show up with a waterfall. One day she catches me outside and decides to introduce herself formally. Tells me her name, reminds me she's HOA president, and drops that she's also a real estate agent. I've been dealing with property issues in this neighborhood for over a decade. Here's the funny part, my house is outside the HOA. Completely. Different plat, different covenants, whole thing. But I don't correct her. I just go, "Oh yeah, interesting," and let her talk. She says she's going to bring it to the board and get an official ruling. Couple weeks later, she comes back with this triumphant look. "Good news," she says, like I'm about to thank her. "The board unanimously agreed the area should be considered community space for trail users. I'm going to start parking here every day this week to establish precedent. If you have a problem, you can challenge the decision through the proper channels." I ask if she has anything in writing. "Minutes aren't ready yet," she says, "but I'm authorized to speak for the board." Then she turns toward my security camera, actually looks right into it, and says slow and clear, "I'm going to park here every single day this week. If you think your little survey map means more than my authority as HOA president, then tow me. I dare you, in fact, I double dog dare you." You know that feeling when someone pushes exactly the wrong button and you go from annoyed to laser calm? That was me. Instead of yelling, I just smiled and said, "Okay, I'll keep that in mind." Next morning, she parks there. I don't go outside, don't engage. I just slip a very polite, very formal notice of unauthorized parking on private property, under her wiper, references my survey, asks her to remove the vehicle, all that. She comes back from her walk, reads it, looks up at my house, gives me this big fake beauty pageant wave, then crumples the notice and throws it in my trash can. Day 2, same thing. Day 3, I escalate. New notice, more legal language, trespass, towing at owner's expense, all neatly laid out. This time she marches up to my door with that paper in her hand. "I appreciate your concern," she says, "but these are unnecessary. I have authorization from the HOA. "Great," I say, "could I see it?" "It's being processed," she says. "Of course." Then she gives me this speech about long-term community understandings and informal rights, and how, as someone who's lived here over 10 years, she has certain privileges newbies like me need to respect. And then she does it again, the line that kills her case. "Look," she says, "I tried to be reasonable. You're obviously not getting the message. I'm going to park here every day from now on. This is my spot now, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you want to keep complaining, you can see me at the next HOA hearing." Hands me back the notice and goes, "Stop wasting paper. Save the trees." Okay then. Game on. That night I call a tow company that specializes in private property. I explain the whole situation, ask what they need, deeds, survey, photos, notice history. I've got all of it, neatly filed. I also mention very casually that it's an all-wheel drive SUV, so they'll want a flatbed, not a regular hook, otherwise they'll wreck the transmission. That little detail matters for the final bill. You know what I mean? Next morning, right on schedule, she pulls in, parks, smiles at my camera. She even tapes a note to my front door. "Stop wasting paper on your silly notices. This is my spot now. I'll be using it every day. Maybe by the next HOA meeting you'll understand how things work around here." I take a photo of the note, call the tow company, and within an hour there's a flatbed backing into my driveway. I meet the driver with my little evidence binder, survey, deed, timestamps, copies of every notice, and a screenshot of her on camera saying, "I double dog dare you." The driver flips through it and just goes, "Man, this is the most documented tow I've ever done." Neighbors start peeking out as he winches her shiny white SUV up onto the truck. I explain calmly that someone's been parking on my private property despite repeated warnings. People nod, roll their eyes like, "Yeah, sounds about right," and go back inside. Truck pulls away, car is gone, and I go back to my coffee. About an hour later I hear this distant, "What the?" from the end of the driveway. I look out the window and there she is, standing in an empty turnaround, turning in a slow circle like someone stole her parking spot, which, yeah, they did, because it was mine. She's on her phone, yelling, pacing. Then she storms up to my house, and I can see the mask is gone, no more fake nice. She's furious. "Where is my car?" "It was towed from my private property," I say, super calm. "Here's the number for the impound lot." She threatens to call the police and report it stolen. I say, "Go for it," and sit back down on my porch step. 20 minutes later, 2 officers show up. She launches into this dramatic story about community parking, harassment, stolen vehicle. When they ask for my side, I invite them up, hand them the binder like it's story time. We go through the survey, the photos, the notes. Then I pull up the camera footage, the part where she looks right at the lens and says, "If you think your little survey means more than my authority as HOA president, then tow me. I double dog dare you." Both cops watch it twice. One of them actually laughs. They turn to her and ask if she has any paperwork showing she has rights to my property. She starts fumbling about HOA boundaries and community understandings and how the board agreed, but she doesn't have minutes, doesn't have easements, doesn't even have a map. The officers look at each other, then tell her, very politely, that this is a civil matter, my documentation is solid, and if she wants to argue property rights, she can do it in court. In the meantime, if she wants her car back, the impound lot will be happy to take her credit card. The bill that day? About $450, flatbed tow, private property fee, storage. More than a year's worth of paid parking anywhere near that park. You'd think that would be the end of it, but remember, she's not just a random lady. She actually is the HOA president, just not mine. So I start digging. I pull the HOA covenants for the subdivision down the hill. My property line is clearly outside their jurisdiction. They've also got a code of conduct for board members. Stuff about not abusing authority, not misrepresenting the HOA, not bringing the association into disrepute. I put together another lovely little package. Footage of her claiming authority over my property, the note where she says this is my spot now, the cops report, the tow documentation, proof that my address is outside the HOA map. I send it to the management company with a formal complaint and a nice cover letter about how their president is out here playing land queen on property she doesn't control. Couple weeks later, I get a call. The board reviewed my complaint. They voted to remove her as president, censured her, and banned her from running for any board position for 2 years. They also put a note in the neighborhood newsletter about a board member being removed for misuse of authority. No names, but everybody knew. A few months after that, a guy from down the hill sees me at the hardware store and goes, "Oh man, you're the survey guy with the parking lady, right?" He tells me she moved away not long after, that the whole thing turned into a cautionary tale. New board got real serious about staying in their lane, literally and figuratively. Meanwhile, up on my little hill, I had a decorative metal gate installed at the start of the turnaround. Looks nice, swings open when friends or deliveries show up, stays locked the rest of the time. I upgraded the cameras too. Since then, not one single stranger has parked there without asking. Some evenings I'll drive home past the park, see hikers' cars lined up in the actual public lot, pull up my driveway and see my gate, my empty turnaround, my little private property sign, and I just grin. It's a tiny thing, but it reminds me that bullies only win when you let them bluff you out of your own rights. And the funny part is, that whole mess kind of changed how I handled stuff at work too. I also do contract work for the local council, out in the river catchment area, mostly field work, out on sites, GPS in hand, mud on my boots. When I got hired, they were very clear. No access to work vans, remote role, only occasional days in the office. That was fine by me. I biked or took the bus when I needed to. Nowhere in my contract did it say I needed my own vehicle. Then there's a leadership shakeup, and suddenly the new bosses are all work from home is evil. Everyone must be in the office, synergy, visibility, blah blah. They send out a blanket policy. Every employee must start their shift at their base office every day. So I email them, lay it out super clearly. My sites are nowhere near the office. I don't have a van. The original agreement was remote. Here's the contract language. I ask for a meeting. They refuse. Policy is policy. All right then. It's summer. The office is a 16-mile bike ride from my place, and I'm stubborn. So I comply maliciously, as the internet would say. Every morning I bike an hour and change to the office, sit down, do the minimal morning admin, then bike back out toward the actual sites I'm supposed to be working on, do an hour or two in the field, eat lunch, maybe squeeze in one more stop, then pedal back to the office to end my shift. Then finally home. 50, 60 miles a day easy. On paper, I'm a model employee. I show up to base every morning like they ordered. In reality, my productivity tanks because I'm spending half my workday as an unpaid Tour de France contestant. After a couple months of this, someone higher up asks why my output looks low. All kinds of accusations start floating around. I just pull out the emails, the contract, the new policy they shoved down my throat, the GPS logs of my rides, and go, "I'm doing exactly what you told me to do, in the way you told me to do it." Quiet little pause, then I get a very polite message saying I can consider my base to be my field sites again. No one mentions the vans. No one mentions the office policy. Suddenly I'm back to working mostly from home, biking between sites like a normal human, and I'm literally being paid to ride around the river in the sunshine. Two different stories, same lesson. If you know where the lines are, and you're patient enough to document things and follow the rules better than the people trying to use those rules against you, you'd be amazed how fast the power imbalance flips. So here's what I keep thinking about, and I'd love to hear what you think too. Was all of that just me defending what's mine, or did I cross into petty territory when I made sure her car got the most expensive tow possible and helped get her kicked off the board? Where's the line between justice and revenge when somebody abuses their little bit of authority and tries to walk all over you? If you've ever had an HOA nightmare, a power-tripping boss, or someone who thought their title meant they owned the world, How did you handle it? Did you cave? Did you fight? Did you go full malicious compliance? Drop your stories and your opinions about what's right in situations like this down below. I'm genuinely curious where you draw the line on property, power, and payback.